Meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Ibrahim Callan is an illegal alien from Sierra Leone. His visitor visa expired in 2024. He has been arrested while training to be a Delaware County Prison Corrections Officer and charged by local police there for rape, involuntary deviant sexual intercourse, sexual assault, aggravated indecent assault, false imprisonment, and indecent assault. But wait, it gets worse. We're in Delaware. Delaware County Prison sent him back into the community despite an ICE immigration detainer. So ICE officers from the Philadelphia office had to arrest him at large in the community a couple weeks back in February. A man enters the country illegally from Sierra Leone, applies to be a corrections officer at a prison, is hired. During the training, he's charged with, sounds like, kidnapping and rape and a bunch of other violent crimes. He's arrested. ICE puts a detainer on him. Prison lets him go because it's sanctuary. They're in a quote unquote sanctuary for predators. And then ICE has to go track him down in the neighborhoods. Over and over and over again. It's got to be maddening for angel families. It really does. The occasion of last week, both the State of the Union address as well as the declaration of Angel Family Day, February 22nd, thought it would be good to check back in with our friend Joe Abraham and get his perspective. He's been quite busy, I've seen, really providing leadership on this issue through giving interviews and willing to talk about it and write op-eds about it. And some parents, and you don't judge. Some parents are comfortable doing that and others are not, but it's important to have leadership from those families who've been victimized through the lawlessness that is endorsed by, I don't know, a party that represents approximately half the country. I don't know. Joe Abraham is the father of Katie Abraham, of course, who was killed in Illinois by a person here illegally when she was down visiting friends at U of I. Joe, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan.
So I know you went to the White House for the Angel Family Day thing, right?
Yeah, we were at the White House on Monday. It was a great, Dan, it was a mixed feeling, right? Because it was great that Donald Trump has recognized us where, say, J.B. Pritzker has tried to erase and ignore Katie's life and death. But I also had mixed feelings because it was almost disbelief, Dan, that this is where we are as a country now, that we were so irresponsible and insidious in the prior administration and the current administration here in Illinois, that now we've got so many of these angel families that are suffering and in pain, and now we have to have a day to recognize that. I honestly, truly never thought we'd ever be here, but here we are.
Yeah, I thought one of the more poignant moments that I saw online from the events of that day was the reading of the names of the victims, and that took almost 5 minutes to read the names of victims, of families in attendance. I mean, that's a lot of names, and some people are more pronounced than others in terms of got more notoriety, and some families are more, as I said, public about it than others, and that's fine, however you want to handle it. But just the sheer amount of names should really hit people.
Yeah, and honestly, and that was just a very small group of families that are life has been altered because of irresponsible and reckless policies. But think about the tens of thousands. Not everyone died like Katie, for example, but think of the tens of thousands of victims out there due to these awful policies. And I remember back in June 2025, J.B. Pritzker was yelling at Congress when we were sitting there where he ignored me and Katie's life at the congressional hearings. He said, the big, beautiful bill will kill people, and therefore it should never pass. Meanwhile, the fact that he's just untethered to hypocrisy and he's so comfortable with it, meanwhile, he does nothing to readdress or reassess his damaging sanctuary policies. Have they not killed people? Yes, but he continues to double down. And it seems to me now that I'm paying more attention, I should say, the fact that the J.B. Pritzkers of the world are so comfortable with hypocrisy is really distressing. And I don't know why Illinois, I'm talking to Illinois voters. You got to help us. This is not a compassionate man. And God forbid anything happens to any Illinois voters, he will turn his back on you as fast as he can, and he will not care. He will not be sympathetic. You will be an inconvenience that he will try to erase and ignore.
So what kind of feedback are you getting from the very public stances you're taking, from the editorials you're writing, from the interviews you're giving? How do people receive you, particularly if they sort of are inclined to disagree with you? Are they respectful, or are they just so radicalized, I guess, by these policies and the rhetoric of politicians like Pritzker that you feel heat from them as well?
Dan, at this point, I don't really care what anyone says. I'm sort of in the grave with Katie. So what are they going to do? I am not worried about anything when it comes to that, right? I'm in such a place that bring it on. I don't even care. But what kills me, what I don't understand is where ideology is first, right? This is your North Star, and this North Star is blinding you because when it comes down to the only thing you have is your team and your ideology and policies that are reckless, it doesn't matter as long as it's your team doing it. It, to me, is just not very coherent, and it's not thoughtful, right? So when the J.B. Pritzkers of the world are setting up the state in such a miserable way, and then they do not have any consideration, they don't do the hard work of trying to understand what's happening within the state and why everyone's leaving. And the hard work is just left to the side, and you take the easy way out. You kick the side door open, and you let hundreds of thousands of people running around our communities. We have no idea who they are or what they're all about, and that's not okay.
Well, the flip side. So let me ask the flip side, the positive side. I know you recently gave a talk up in New Trier on the North Shore for New Trier Neighbors, and and I just wonder, maybe like people are hearing your story, that do agree, sensible policies, immigration, law enforcement, things like that. But it takes sort of a motivational story, and in this case, unfortunately, a tragic story, sometimes to get people to engage. And I wonder if you're encouraged by the talks you're giving and what you're doing, the feedback you're getting that is getting people engaged on the issue.
Yes. So it's been pretty positive, Dan. Actually, I have to say, when I think there's a group of people that are just so ideologically driven that nothing will change there. But I do feel a sense the ones in the middle, maybe the left middle, are listening and understanding that this is not okay, and how the state is being run and how we were treated is not okay. So I do feel, one at a time, we're making a difference. I know I just set up a Substack so I could put my writings in there, and a lot of people have mentioned that to me. So this is my first foray into that. But yeah, Dan, I get exactly what you're saying. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. There's a group that will never move, and I think we are reaching one at a time, just so folks can understand that we can do better, and we can be more thoughtful, and we could be less partisan, and we can be less hypocritical. So I do think that resonates a little bit. Yeah.
That you're reaching some of the people who are reachable is essentially what you're saying. But that's encouraging, because that's, that's the mission field. The people that are fully engaged, they're, you got them. The people that you said have ideological blinders on, you're not going to get them. So it's all that, with, the vast middle there of people who are sort of marginally engaged and try to be reasonable and empathetic to people who have been wronged, as your family has. That's encouraging. I mean, I think it's encouraging to believe that there are people in Chicagoland that still fit that description, frankly.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. They are willing to listen, and whether they move away from, like, say, the J.B. Pritzkers, I'm not sure, but they're willing to listen. They are distressed on how the state and our politicians have handled this. I think they start to realize that the chaos in the streets, let's say from ICE, they're starting to understand when I talk about that the J.B. Pritzkers of the world, the Tony Pretzels and Mayor Johnson, they need ICE so they have something else to talk about. And then even the hypocrisy, like, let's say up in Minnesota, Dan, there's two people that put themselves, look, no one should ever die. I've been there. I bury a child, so I understand this. But no one should put themselves in a bad situation and in the middle of a law enforcement situation and think the outcome is going to be good. And to do it for fallen politicians, corrupt politicians, is just so unacceptable to put yourself in that situation. Now, the other thing is where the hypocrisy comes in, when the millions were at the border, people dying on the journey, people being raped, kids being exploited, kids being lost, cartels making billions of dollars now because we're moving people around and we've allowed that. Where were they down in the southern border? Where was the principle? You should have, if you cared so much about these people, you should have went down there. You should have said, we need an orderly process. To allow millions to bum rush the border doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help the citizens, which you're responsible for, and doesn't help the actual migrants bum rushing the border. You're not helping anybody. Look at the guy who killed Katie. They didn't help him a whit. And now he'll spend decades in jail. Bang up job, Illinois. You killed a young woman, and now you're gonna have to support a guy in jail for years. You didn't help him on his health. You didn't help him in his language. You did nothing. It was a free. Think about how many of these people they call our neighbors that are in our communities. For example, again, the guy who killed Katie had HIV in our communities. Was he reckless? Yes, I believe he was. We know he had multiple partners, couldn't read or write, couldn't speak Spanish or English, driving around in our communities. Where was the help Illinois gave him? Now he's going to spend decades, hopefully, in jail. So Illinois has failed at every single turn. And to think that these politicians have the face to stand up to the voters and say, put me back in office. As a matter of fact, politics, that I can tell now that I'm paying attention, is the only industry that you can fail and get promoted. I would have been fired 15 times over if I behaved like this and performed like this on my outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The time that you spent with other Angel families in D.C., what is that like? Is that cathartic for you and your family to just exchange stories and talk about what what people are respectively doing in their communities?
It's so painful, Dan. I don't know how else to say it, to listen to these stories and these families going through what we're going through. People don't seem to realize that you can't just brush us off. Like, our whole lives have been altered. We are in a dark wilderness trying to find a new path. We thought we had Katie the rest of our lives. My only joy before January 25 was watching my 3 children grow up to be productive, good people. And my only challenge was, how is my work-life balance going to happen so I can spend time with them? This has completely altered our lives. And think about the tens of thousands of lives that have been altered. And it's not okay to brush us off. I mean, the media, to me, has been disgusting on this topic. They want it to go away because of their ideology, and that's not okay. That's not good enough. That's awful. You are not truth tellers. These media folks, these outlets like the New York Times and CBS and ABC, all these people, CNNs of the world, are very, very, should not be listened to. They are not serious. They're actually silly. They have no North Star other than their ideology, and that's what blinds them. They ought to speak up and talk about these angel families. You don't have to talk about me. I would love to talk about them and the nonsense they spew. I would love to do that. But don't talk to me then. Go talk to other families. There are so many. You probably can't figure out who to pick. You've created so many of these angel families, and it's just not right, and it's not the way things get done.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you continuing to take up the fight. Hopefully it will inspire more to do so. Joe Abraham, father of Katie Abraham. Joe, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, guys.
And Joe joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hello?
Sir, this is Officer Peterson.